Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Day 9.
And I am H to the Husky.
And this is GeForce StarCraft 2 Pro-Am week number 3. In the right position, we have Star Tails Ace, one of the famous Protosses from Seoul, playing against the Zergy up in the north position, the crowd favorite, Root Destiny.
Absolutely, Sean. And one update I want to give really quick to everyone is we've been working it out, and as far as a lot of people have been requesting having the amateur stats available much more quickly. So if you are participating in the tournament, there's about 10,000 amateurs out there. I just want to let everyone know you can check the stats. They should update much more quickly out there. So hopefully you guys are able to figure that out and find those. If not, I will post a link down, at least in my videos, because, Sean, that is something a lot of people are requesting.
Yeah, thanks again for that feedback. I want to make this tournament as best as possible for you, because that's the reason it's actually happening. And also, I want to give a little bit of update on the stats for these two players. Destiny, after taking an incredible win against Star Tails Bomber in his first game, a narrow 2-1 victory. He then lost to Vibe 1-2 because Destiny's Zerg vs. Zerg, he has stated, is his weakest matchup. Star Tails Ace, on the other hand, is 2-0 in his group, taking down This Is Jimmy and Show.
So it should be a pretty good game here today. Yeah, definitely check out that game if you didn't see the one Sean was talking about, that first series. Absolutely bananas, so go check that stuff out, guys. And Sean, one thing I've noticed, I don't know if this is consistent with a lot of Zerg players, but some of my favorite Zerg players consistently say that ZvZ is their weakest matchup. Is that something you find consistent, or is it just for the players we've been watching lately?
Oh, and it looks like Ace ends up losing a probe. In the excitement, Husky, I neglected to answer your question, but don't you worry. I'm going to answer it right now. A real problem with I would say the mirror matchups in general is that it's oftentimes vague what you're supposed to exploit because you have the same units. If, your opponent is making a bunch of, I don't know, Stalkers and a whole bunch of Templar or something along these lines, the Zerg player can look at that composition and perhaps opt for Zerglings and Infestors to do a whole bunch of really nice fungal growths to lock down the Stalkers, trying to avoid all those feedbacks from the Templar. Or if they're going air, appropriately making a bunch of roaches, expanding a little bit more. But in a Zerg versus Zerg matchup, it can be very, very tricky to figure out what you're supposed to be making, because again, there's no real difference between the edges that's going on. We'll get a chance to look at some more Zerg versus Zergs in the future. Right now, it looks like we do have Star Tails Ace doing the early expand he loves so much, even though the map is Metalopolis.
I really do like his building placement that he has at the base of the ramp for that early expand. As you can see, Zergling not going to be able to scout anything there. His bloodstains soaking into the earth there. And yeah, Sean, what do you think about fast expanding on this map? I mean, given that the spawn locations by ground are not the crazy super close ones, so is this a viable strategy, on this map in these spawns?
You have to be very, very careful, even on a map like Shakura's Plateau, where you have a near perfect wall off and you have the high ground advantage. You still have to worry about some of those early busts, and of course, given the fact that we are on Metalopolis, early busting is much easier. You can even slip right around the backside. It's all going to come down to very, very meticulous building placement by Ace. Destiny, in the meantime, has now finished his natural expansion, has begun mining gas, has those two queens up right now, and is sending one down to his natural, and already we see Destiny being very responsible, running his Zerglings and rings around his base, trying to spot any potential upcoming cheese. And look at this building placement we're starting to see out of Ace. This is exactly the building placement that you need. That brilliantly planted cybernetics core blocking off the backside.
Absolutely, and it's very important to point to that, as any Protoss player out there can tell you, a slightly misplaced building can end up costing you the game, but Ace is going to be absolutely prepared for any sort of early rush here, and he only has one cannon right there, but it's in such a good spot that even roaches at this point may have a difficult time in breaking that down, although I don't really think roaches are going to be a problem, as, I mean, he's got his lair going up. What do you expect for Destiny to follow up now that he's going for the early lair tech?
Well, Husky, this is kind of interesting to see a layer come up this fast in this matchup with nothing else beforehand. We don't see any kind of Roach Warren. We don't see any kind of even Spine Crawlers up at this point in time. It looks like Destiny going to throw down some emergency Spine Crawlers right now as he sees this very interestingly timed 2 Zealot push going on from Ace. This could do some damage, but look in the back of Ace's base, Husky. There's also a Stargate getting thrown down.
Yeah, he is going to be going for the Stargate, which is extremely good on this map simply because of the fact that the close flight distances, and he's seeing right now if he can do a lot of damage with these Zealots, and a Stalker is joining in the fray to see if he can take Destiny by surprise.
Oh, some very nice control, and it looks like the Queen, though, is down to 9 hit points. The drones are rushing to intercept, and oh, Queen down to 1 hit point. We do see Ace trying to rush to catch up, and there's the drones from Destiny trying to spin around, and he gets a Stalker. Oh, very narrow miss there. We see Destiny's Queen returning back, adding on a little bit more larva, but that was just the annoying prod. We see a Void Ray as a follow-up play by Ace, but Destiny already has it completely scouted out with that first Overlord, and 2 Evolution Chambers are getting planted.
And it does look like the Void Ray is going to be taking out the Overlord first, as it is rallied down there, at least for now. He may want to try and seek out that Queen with low HP, unless it does get transfused. Right now sitting at 14 HP, slowly regenerating the HP there. And I do like how Destiny's going to be moving the Overlord as far away as possible, just to delay any harassment from that Void Ray. And those 2 Evo Chambers will easily be used for static defenses, should he need it. And also, Sean, looks like Destiny going to be going for the Infestation Pit, which he is known to love.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny loves this Infestor style. You do see the Void Rays just now touching those four crawlers. Queen's beginning to work down. Uh-oh, Queen gets lifted by the Phoenix. Target fire from the Void Ray. It's starting to charge up. Queen's losing a lot of health. We see those 4 crawlers now wrapping up. It looks like Ace got a little bit greedy. He tried to pick off the Queen, but oh no, he loses the Void Ray. That's going to be a huge loss for the Protoss player this early on.
You never, ever, ever want to lose that first Void Ray. I think a lot of people get a little too anxious with it, thinking they have to do some sort of harassment to all of the units on the field, and instead, a lot of times, it's better if you save it, at least keep it in low HP, and then move it out with your army. You can use it on the stack defenses, and still use it to take out things like Roaches and Zerglings, which cannot attack air, and losing that very first Void Ray without really getting a lot is not going to be a good situation for him. I mean, if you take a look at the Units Lost tab, it is heavily favoring Destiny right now.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Mike. I mean, trying to pull that Void Ray back can be so helpful because it immediately negates so many. Even Roach tactics are no longer that viable early on, even if he has just a single Void Ray, given how quickly they take those Roaches down. But at this phase, I mean, we're seeing a scramble from Ace to try to take a 3rd expansion. The Zerglings from Destiny do see that probe, do see the pylon going down. We also see a huge swell of 6 Warp Gates. Twilight Council wrapping up right now. Chrono Boost going down on the Forge to try to get those upgrades up. But man, I mean, Husky, look at the upgrades coming on Destiny's front. He is already swinging ahead with the fast +1/+1 for his Zerglings.
He's also working on those very good pathogen glands, which will give his infestors the ability to fungal growth right out the gate as soon as they spawn. And it does look like Ace is going to be scouting around with this Phoenix, seeing exactly what's going on. And his 3rd base is now planted. It is going to be difficult for him to guard it, though, with so many Speedlings running everywhere. It looks like Destiny going to try and run down there, see if he can poke there and make something happen. And Sean, this is always the tough part as a Protoss player, trying to find the exact position that you need to leave your units at.
Yeah, and there we see the Nexus getting target fired, and there's the force field ring. Oh, brilliant save by Ace. Phenomenal save, and then walls off those Zerglings. That was an absolutely incredible defense. I mean, I was going to start to get a little worried if that Expo did fall down, because as we can see, Mike, we're just now hitting the 11-minute and 50-second mark, and there's another retarget attempt by Destiny to try to take him out. I mean, if you are getting that close to 12 minutes as a Protoss and you don't yet have a 3rd or even a plan for a 3rd, that is so hard to catch up.
That is something that I've seen Protoss use more and more. They're realizing, well, I can use force field to kind of save my buildings, especially considering that Protoss can't repair them, always having to rely on those regenerating shields. And I've also seen a lot of Protoss recently start to wall off that 3rd base with those buildings. They just have to watch out for counterattacks, because if they're not in position, they can lose the pylons as well as the gateways. And right now, it does look like Ace is keeping his units, for the most part, completely grouped up, which is something that a lot of Zerg players may try and punish, either with drops or something like that. And it does look like we have some Overlords as well as Burrow research going down right now. So he is definitely looking to use that Infestor play. You can see a nice glob of them outside of his natural. And just now starting a Roach Warren too. I'm assuming, Sean, that this is just to protect his Infestors.
Yes, indeed. It's always about the investors who are putting money to capitalize Root Destiny, trying to make sure those stock options go up on the Infestor play. Well, actually, speaking of which, Destiny says that the only ultra cost-effective unit for Zerg is the Infestor, so I love that he is incorporating them aggressively into his play. And because my brain wasn't quite functioning, when you talked about the cluster of units, I just said, yeah, Zerg could EMP, and then I was like, oh, thank God Mike's talking, because I would have just totally botched that. But keep in mind the fungal growth is equally annoying as the EMP. And I do think that that is a big key point that you bring up. Drop play can be very, very potent. We also see that the +2 melee attack and +1 carapace, or excuse me, +2 carapace almost finishing up.
And it does look like Destiny was poking down in the bottom right expansion once again. And Destiny also revealing that he does have speed overlords in the main base of Ace there. And that's going to kind of trigger Ace to realize that threats are an imminent drop. They can always happen. And really the Protoss player never knows if the Zerg player has drop or not. And we'll need to look out for Night Swarms. There's also going to be Hive Tech on the way. So Destiny definitely known for his kind of tech level of play. I mean, look, Sean, he's at 4 bases right now. Also with the Hive Tech on the way. So he's definitely macroing quite hard. Eunice tab showing a lot of workers for both players, fairly equal here.
And I love the 2 Archons out as well. Archon's a very undervalued unit, extremely strong. We see that they do 43 damage per shot right now versus biological, which is essentially every single unit that the Zerg can be making right now. Brood Destiny is having some super unusual timings. I mean, it's very rare to see a player go this heavily for Zergling Infestor. We see a big engagement, and the Zealots absolutely rip apart the Zerglings. And double Immortals coming out right now. It looks like Ace is preparing for a big late game, but again, this is such an unusual mixture of units from Root Destiny. I honestly think that the Protoss is having a little bit of trouble knowing when a good timing attack is.
He is going to be setting up a proxy pylon here, potentially to try and warp in units on the high ground. And everyone needs to remember that as long as Ace keeps some high Templar, he does have a chance of feedback being utilized on those infestors, which can one-shot them if they are at, they only need 90 energy to one-shot them, as that is the amount of HP that they have. And you can see right now Ace's high yield expansion about to go up. And I've been watching a Hero Zealot over there try to take out Zerglings. He is not able to do it. And right now it just seems, Sean, like both players are kind of poking at each other. There's been no major blunders or major losses throughout this game.
Oh, but here's a nice little play by the Zerg players trying to position those infestors properly. And oh no, the High Templar gets stuck back, and there's an incredible series of fungals going down right now. All those units in the yellow life right now. And there's some feedbacks ripping apart those infestors. Roaches up on the high ground. Very unusual play by Destiny, but it is working out brilliantly. Cannot get any of those Zealots into a reasonable position. And oh my God, Husky! Look at the way that Destiny is just ripping apart this army. The units lost tab still heavily favoring Destiny. Now the Roaches swinging forward once again, but with the Immortal Stalker composition, I don't know if it's going to be enough from Destiny.
It does look like 2 attack upgrades is done for the Protoss, trying to use force fields there to cut the army in half. A lot of those Roaches were still shooting, though, and it does look like Destiny will push this back. At the beginning of the battle, Sean, it looked like Destiny was losing too many infestors, but he used just enough fungal growth to swing this into his favor. And Ace is really committing here, but it feels like he should have backed out a lot sooner.
A huge swell of units beginning to go to the center of the map. We do see that that Hive Tech is done. Is he getting a Greater Spire? No, has not made use of the Hive Tech, but I don't think he's going to need to. Husky, he is rolling over the center expansion. The Zerg now taking some more bases, but uh-oh, here at the left, we see a couple of Zealots took out the 4th base of Destiny. And how did Destiny respond? Well, he took himself a 5th at the more bottom left, and in the center has established his own gold base, and I love this play. Look at this Husky pulling back all the Roaches after he's done an almost killing blow.
And it is going to be 132 supply for the Protoss, 163 for the Zerg. And we're going to have to take a look at the production tab to see what Destiny's going to follow this up with. I'm seeing a bunch of Infestors, which is really the one unit that he needs to replace. I mean, his Roach numbers are still quite healthy. He still has decent upgrades there, just starting the +3 armor as well as the +2 attack there. So he is going to be in a comfortable position. And looking at the production tab for Protoss, he was able to squeak out that +3, but he needs to find himself in a position where he's dealing a lot of damage, using force fields, and not taking a lot of damage. And unfortunately for him, I don't see a single sentry on the field. Looks like he's going to attempt to move out on the left side. That is going to be spotted by Destiny, who's now positioning himself for what looks like could be one of the last battles in the game.
I mean, Destiny's starting to slowly encroach, has been replacing tremendous amounts of infestor numbers, sticking with that consistency, and here comes the attack. And there's the feedbacks going down. Manages to take it out. 1 infestor, and oh, 3 infestors fall, but we have more infestors rolling up into the back. Great blink control, getting those Immortals to the front. The army looks a little bit too strong for the Zerg, but you know what, Mike? I mean, we see 42 Zerglings coming down, the Adrenal Gland upgrade, and 6 Corruptors with a nearly complete Greater Spire. It looks like it's going to be a big, beautifully timed Broodlord push.
Yeah, and also mixing in those Zerglings is going to be crucial too, because really this army is pure, for the most part, is Stalker, Immortal, which do not fare the best against the Zerglings. We do have, though, Ace following it up with a couple of Archons as well as a couple of Zealots getting mixed in, so you definitely will need that. But it's going to come down to, a lot of times, it does come down to the Broodlord positioning. Can Ace blink those Stalkers under the Broodlords and take them out, or is Ace going to be able to play conservative with them and not end up losing them? We can see about 4 Broodlords going to be on the way, with a couple more Corruptors getting mixed in right there. And really, Root Destiny, he has, I would say, Sean, one of the better unit compositions that Zerg can have. He just needs to make sure not to sit on this 200 supply, because a lot of that supply is going to be eaten up by these roaches.
Yeah, I mean, the blink that you were talking about earlier, one of the key points to bring up, because blink is best used defensively to pull back weakened Stalkers to run away. Blinking into an army, very dangerous, because one misstep means you don't have the ability to run away. Your blink timer is still unelapsed. And now we see the huge push forward from Destiny. It's all going to come down to the nice blink placement of Ace. Can he get into a good spot? Oh my god, beautiful storms going down right now. And again with the Immortals at the front, it can rip apart those Roach numbers, but there's the Broodlords beginning to work away at that left assimilator. Archon, Immortal, Stalker advancing forward, the perfect composition, and there's some big fungals getting thrown down. And there's the blink up directly underneath the Broodlords, and it's the perfect blink, eliminating them with relative ease, but we see a lot more Infestors doing some beautiful fungal growth. Some more blinks, but oh no, it looks like Destiny was unable to break it, and Ace is going to clean this push up.
Looking at the production tab, Ace is looking to kind of swell those units again, considering how many bases he has. There was 20 plus Roaches being produced, as well as Zerglings getting in the mix, as well as the +1 attack for air right now. Destiny's still trying to be aggressive here to do as much damage as he possibly can, Sean, and he's continuing to be aggressive here. Looks like Ace may have got a little too excited and left his units kind of out in the open. Now it's going to have to retreat those away, but it's got to come down to, can he hold this high yield expansion, which is very tough with Broodlords at play.
Wow, there are so many units still coming from Destiny. It's getting a little bit wasteful, we're starting to see. The units lost tab still favoring Destiny. He has maintained that efficiency, and I love that point you brought up, Husky, about the composition that we've seen Destiny incorporate throughout the game. It hasn't just ended strong. It's been strong all game long, seeming to have just enough Zerglings in the early game, getting the Infestors just in time, getting the Roach numbers just in time, and then following all that up with those amazing Broodlord numbers. And wow, 7 Infestors in production right now, and uh-oh, a blink at the left base.
Looks like he's going to try and take that one out. Don't know if Destiny has anything in position to deal with this. He's trying to run down there. It does look like at least the hatchery will go down. The drones will most likely survive, as Ace is going to be forced together. I love how Destiny's positioning his units to try and prevent the blink. Is indeed going to trap a couple of Stalkers on the high ground. At the same time, Sean, though, there is going to be an attempt at killing the high yield expansion, but some of the Stalkers got out of position and now are fungal growth trapped.
We do see some more nice fungals going down. That hatch is in the yellow health. Now it's in orange. We're seeing some blinks, and there's the retreat going down for Startail's Ace. And in the south position, we see Ace beginning to take himself a 5th base. But look at the bottom right, Expo nearly mined out. The gold Expo is doing decently, but the main and the natural dead broke on money. Void Ray starting to be reproduced again, and oh my gosh, in the unit counting station we see 2 are already done. A 3rd is en route. Looks like he's trying to exploit the fact that Destiny is a little bit too ground focused. But I'm so amazed, Husky. There's been almost no Hive Tech units made at all. Just the 6 or 7 Broodlords, and then all Ling, Roach, and Fester.
There hasn't been any Colossus either. And Sean, what do you think about the Void Ray? Is this going to take Destiny by surprise, you think, or can he just mind control them and just make them kind of worthless?
Yeah, I think that the Infestor count is a little bit too high. I mean, even if he doesn't want to try to do a Neural Parasite, he can easily fungal growth and delay, and quite honestly, with the size of army Destiny's dishing out, oh, look at that! Great fungal growth! And doing the Neural Parasite on the Archon, doing some huge hits. The Archon ripping apart the Stalkers and Immortals right alongside it. More great fungal growth, an absolutely phenomenal play, and grabs another Archon! We see the Templar trying to swing forward. Oh, the 2 Archons just killing each other. That is an incredible Neural Parasite job there by Destiny.
Yeah, it's now going to be about 190 supply to 170 for the Protoss, warping in some reinforcements right now, and he's desperately trying to get up another armor upgrade. Looks like he may want to wait until that one's done, and he does have the +1 attack for his Void Rays. I think he may be trying to take Destiny by surprise here. It may be smart to run those Void Rays inside the main base, maybe try and take out that Hive Tech or something like that while doing an attack as well. But luckily for Ace, he has been able to keep his high yield expansion up and running, although his 5th base down here is going to be a threat from this massive Zergling counterattack.
Zerglings surrounding the Nexus, target firing with that Adrenal upgrade. That is a big boost to the damage output of the Zerglings, and it looks like the Nexus falls. The Zealots and Stalkers try to back up to take it down.
Yeah, not able to save that one, Sean. And really, this is kind of the trial of being a Protoss player, is where to leave your army and where to put up a bunch of cannons there. Unfortunately for him, he did not have enough cannons in place. The cannons only getting 7 kills there, and there was many more Zerglings than that. But it is becoming going to be tough for the Protoss player to secure a base at this point in the game. Destiny has his full side of the map, while really the Protoss is down 2 expansions on his side. And these Infestors starting to get a ton of energy, more Broodlords getting mixed in as well. So it looks like Destiny's going to be in a pretty good spot, but the Protoss player is remaxed out.
I cannot believe how many Infestors we're seeing out right now. 16 really goes to show why Destiny is favoring this Roach Zergling composition so much. It frees up all the gas so he can spend it on the Infestor. And what does Destiny do to bolster the Zergling Roach? Well, he gets the Hive very quickly and the upgrades very quickly, so his Zerglings will have that adrenal gland. His Roaches can get all their fancy upgrades as well. And I mean, 16 Infestors. I mean, can you imagine a Protoss army with 16 Templar? Or a Terran army with 16 Ravens? It's insane the amount of gas that Destiny's dumping into this. And now we have 5 Broodlords, the big key to a large push at this phase.
And it's also very difficult to hold the high yield expansion against Broodlords. We've seen it time and time again, as he did before, going to be attempting to take out that Geyser. He will be able to get that just fine, and then it's just going to be the positioning, finally getting some Colossus mixed into this army, Sean, with the Void Ray. So we're going to see if this is the perfect unit composition to take out what Destiny has, but as we mentioned before, that's a lot of Infestors, which will do additional damage to all these units with those fungal growths.
Oh, but the great preemptive Void Ray by Ace, ripping apart a lot of these Broodlords, but there are still so many Infestors. We see a lot of feedbacks going down, taking out large numbers of Infestors, but quite honestly, there's just a few too many, and we see great fungal growths and infested Terrans taking down the Void Rays. There are still 4 Broodlords left, and amazingly, Destiny appears to have broken through with 20 more Roaches in production, 32 Zerglings. Destiny is max against the half-max army from Ace. Broodlords dealing massive damage, the Colossus ripping everything apart, 17, 19, 13, 18 kills on each of these Colossi, but I still don't actually think it's going to be enough.
Nice control on the Colossi, keeping them alive as long as possible. These are the most important units to keep alive. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have anything on the ground to protect it. He has lost a lot of probes during that engagement at that high yield expansion. And you mentioned, Sean, that Destiny is indeed maxed out. This is where a Zerg player is most powerful, is in an engagement like that where they're losing a lot of units. If they were able to sit on a huge cache pile of minerals and Vespene gas, they can get remaxed out much quicker than a Protoss. So you can see that the Protoss player going to sit back, try and get these units out as quickly as possible. Production tab shows Templar as well as some Void Rays trying to be warped in, and also that +2 armor, which would be very valuable. But unfortunately, Sean, it looks like he may be losing his 5th base as well. No, Destiny's going to go ahead and back out and try to find a better spot.
Yeah, it looks like Destiny's doing some amazing fungal growths now, heading in towards the gold base, taking out a lot of Stalkers, and there's the good game. Wow! Destiny takes a brilliant win against StarTale Ace. And as we saw there, Husky, Destiny didn't even leave the game after he won. He hung in there and just killed some neutral units off. I am so impressed with that win that Destiny executed there. The transition from the Zergling Infestor into the mid-game, barely getting enough Roaches in time, and then just going into the huge Infestor numbers. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that many Infestors in this matchup.
Yeah, and also from a lot of the games I've seen from Destiny, he definitely likes the long macro games. That's when the Infestors start to get extremely powerful, kind of forces the Protoss to either have to split up his army or just try and get a counterattack or something like that, because if you leave your army completely clumped up and run them head-on into those Infestors, they will all get fungal growth, and then if the Zerg player backs out, like we've seen Destiny do over and over, then they just sit there taking that full damage. And I think a lot of it, Sean, comes down to one of the first battles where Destiny was on the high ground using Roaches, which made the Zealots basically completely worthless.
Yeah.
And Ace was doing some good feedbacks, but he didn't have any damage to follow that up with.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. It's so easy to fall into this trap of always engaging in direct fights, and then the Protoss' unit mix begins to account for that, flooding with Zealots to overrun medium numbers of Roaches, but that amazing Roach positioning by Destiny is what gave him that win. Husky, I say we jump into Game 2 to see if Destiny can close it out with another impressive 2-0, or whether it'll have to be a big uphill battle against that top Korean player Ace.
All right, let's do it, Sean.